Okay. Let's see how things are going. Looks like I started streaming. Got some notifications here. Let's see. Get that. Okay, I just hit YouTube. Let's sit there and see if I get on Facebook. Hopefully you guys can see me and hear me. Everything's okay. Okay, YouTube and Pixel. Okay, good. That's going. Alrighty. So, hey, how's it going, Chris? Can you guys hear me okay? Hopefully you guys can. Welcome to episode 19. I can't believe I've done this many already. My name is Briley, in case you have just joining us today. How's it going, Alex? I'm also known as Spark. You can find my work. And sorry, that's my dog in the background spinning. That is Jax. Jax ruining my little display of my t-shirts. So you can find my work at www.bbriley.com, as you see on screen. I sell kits as well, so here are some of the different kits I've created, and t-shirts and a couple other stuff. You can find out more about me in case you're interested. You click on about if it works. There it goes. A little bit slow. Find my Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc., through here if you're ever kind of questioning or trying to find out more. And then clients list some of them and some of the titles I've had the honor to work on. I have some limited stuff on my work. I have a lot. My work, some of the older designs, personal creations, 2D and 3D work is more towards the commercial games, that kind of stuff that I worked on, Age of Empires and stuff in a mixture. And I'm going to be doing like 360-degree spins, which I'm trying to get working right now, where you can actually rotate around the kits and stuff I've been doing. So this is a 3D print, and then you can kind of rotate around. And I'll have more. I was still trying to figure it out. Press, you could actually find some of the different stuff I've done, interviews, and of course the ZBrush Live videos, which I need to update yet again, and contact me through here. Just drop me a line through the website. You can also find my work at www.artstation.com/spark. Just the general stuff in the games, some of the different variety of work. And my Instagram, you can follow me Instagram.com/bbriley_art. I definitely appreciate you guys. I just slowly started doing this, and I need to keep building up the followers, because I guess it's the cool thing to do. I also work with a couple group of guys, James Kane and Martin Verhoeven, very talented artists, and we got together and are called Grim. So you can find us at wearegrim.com, and this is where we can kind of try out some of the different things we'd like to do, kits created, and so on. This is James Kane's piece. This is one of Martin's, James, and mine. And you can find different one. We will be doing some updates here pretty soon of 2 new kits that are coming, which are pretty cool. You can find out again on About Us. This is James, Martin, and myself, and then breaks down each of the guys, plus the client list of who we actually had a chance to work with. And then of course our work and press is just like the log. So you can also find us at wearegrim, Instagram.com/wearegrim. So we appreciate you taking the time to check us out. And I also wanted to show, this is one of the new characters that I was kind of working on. It's a 3D print of my new creature called Babu. And at some point in time I'll probably do an episode. His little mouth kind of comes off as the kit. This is a 75mm. I'm going to be doing a little bit of variety of these kits, and maybe some wall plaques and a couple other stuff. So I might do an episode here pretty soon to show you guys kind of the process I go through. So I'm sorry if that was a little bit blurry. Hey Kim, how's it going? Hey Squib, how's it going? Mohammed, thank you guys. Bavesh, appreciate you guys joining us today, or joining me today. I guess I was including the dogs. So let's go ahead and get started. Today I'm going to go ahead and just continue with what I've been doing with the heads, creating the different heads and stuff, but I think I'm going to take this to where a little bit more creature exploration, and I'm going to bring in some of the different tools. So again, what I do here is I try to teach you guys just to have fun when you're kind of creating things, just to sit there and not stress about what you're going to be creating, and taking things that are kind of done and recreating things out of the box. So I'm just going to take one of the scan heads I had before on a previous one, but I'm going to bring in some of the different creatures or tools that I've used before. On this is just a simple ZBrush piece of the scan, so I kind of cleaned it up. So I'm just going to make a duplicate, so I always have that to go back forward. And usually what I do is I'll just append like a little sphere that I can kind of grab, but I make it kind of small and just kind of inside the head. That way I can, you know, go to Tools, Save As, and I can just name this. You know, I'll just save it off as whatever I want it to be, and then that way I can label this as a clean head instead of ZBrush Live. I can then go, you know, and say ZBrush head, etc. to kind of clean this up. So so then I can kind of just continue. This would always be the name of whatever the file is going to be, and then this is what I'm going to continue with. So yeah, this is just not my head. It's not my head. It's just it's a scan. But the reason I started using the scans is because a lot of people were kind of just taking scans and just making the nose slightly bigger and calling it done. So with this head, I'm going to start, and I'm going to go in and open up my VDM brush. These are the brushes that I created in like an earlier episode. What they are is just a lot of the different creature parts or different things I've done, some of the ZBrush Live, to give myself a start. So vector displacement maps are just going to be the one where you pull it, and it's going to pull from the geometry out. So you have to be kind of careful on what you want to, you know, how much height or how much is going to come over. But this is where you can, VDM brushes are great if you want to make a tentacle that kind of goes off of a plane and around, and you can kind of just quickly just draw these out. So I could just draw this head out. So I'm going to, this is just, I'm using like a mouth, so I'm just going to kind of like pull this guy out, and I'm going to, and as you see it kind of affects, it pulls from this. So I might have to kind of decide, do I want to sit there and wipe out a lot of that face? And I also need to make sure that my intensity might have to change. So on this character first, I'm just going to go ahead and knock it down a little bit, go into lower levels, and I'm just going to wipe out the nose, because I don't want his information kind of really affecting his nose. And I might just take his eyes and kind of bring those off so they don't get in there. Stop licking. All I can hear is the dog licking in the background, so sorry, I'm getting distracted. And by the way, water bottles work great for dogs as well as cats. So sorry, Jax, go do that someplace else. So so now that I have that, I'm just going to go ahead and as you notice right there, this is 2 million, so the higher you go up, it's going to be more difficult here to wipe out. So that's why going down, up and down into the different levels just allows you to bring in details. If I want to keep some of this detail, I can go down a few levels, do some slight blending, and when I go back up, it just reduces. So this is what the great thing is for. So I'm going to go back to that VDM brush, and I'm going to find, M is going to pull up all my multi-mesh inserts. I'm going to go find that head that I wanted. And if I grab if I had the symmetry on, it's going to cause some issues. So I can actually just, as you know, it's doing duplicate. So I'm going to turn off symmetry. I'm going to try to find the center point. You can actually just use the center point of this, and where do I want to bring it in. So let's go ahead and try to get this here. So, and I'm not really worried about if that was perfect. I'm going to change my intensity down. I'm eyeing it, so I want to have some of this. I want to bring out some of the details, maybe not as much because it was really pulling off. So you might have to play with the intensity. Okay. Now, I want to bring this back into symmetry. So what you could do is go down to Deformation. And I'm going to go back down a little bit of the levels of what I've drawn. I'm just going to do Smart Sim, Resim. Come back up, Smart Sim, Resim. So what that is doing is actually taking both sides and gauging what would be symmetrical. And so it's saying full symmetry sound, Resim. And so I'm just going up to the levels. Now, the reason I go down from the lower levels instead of just going to the top levels and doing it, because it takes a little bit of time. But this way I want to make sure, in 99.847%, that's perfectly fine for your levels. And now when I sit there and I gotta make sure I turn back on symmetry, I can then start sculpting again, and I'm back on full symmetry. That way I can start sculpting this, bringing this in, and making my character. So let's say if I want to start using this now, somebody like I've had a few people kind of saying I do bulbous aliens, or I'm doing something similar. I mean, maybe it's because I'm just starting from a lot of the scanned heads, but to me, piss off. I mean, I as an artist, when you're able to create for yourself, just have fun creating for yourself. Do not listen to anybody, naysayers or whatever. Have fun, and that's what you should be doing as an artist. Now, if I'm being paid, if those people were saying, yeah, we want to pay you, and then this is what we want you to do, great, I'll listen to them. But other than that, who gives a shit? I think that's the biggest thing I try to teach students and people that want to watch. You're always going to have somebody that's going to either like or dislike what you do, and it's and they're going to try to tell you what you should do and how you should do it, and honestly, just have fun. Clients, I've done plenty of things that I've done for clients that I do not agree with, but they are paying me, so then I'm like, okay, I will go along with it. But I'm not really worried about anybody else saying I need to do pretty things or I need to do this. So I highly suggest you probably just go ahead and follow that suit. Alright, so I know I've done like shield heads or like heads before, but I'm just I'm gonna make probably like a creature. Hey, what's up, Mark? How's it going, buddy? Hey, Ben. How's it going? Well, I mean, these are things that brushes are just pieces I've done on part of like these ZBrush Live things. Really, that's all I was kind of doing. So what I'm suggesting to you, as you keep going and you guys are creating your own monsters and stuff, like I said, if whatever I create today isn't successful, I might still use it in another way to kind of say, I'm going to create a brush and piece those things together. Even though I start from a scan head, doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to use just this everything from the scan head. I might take everything away from it. So, and a good way to do it, like if I want this ear to be larger, like if I'm going to make kind of like a rat type head, I'm going to you can mask, control and flip the mask and then move. If you hold down Alt and click this Google map thingy, whatever, that kind of redirects, and you can actually change the axis. This way you can actually, I want to scale out this ear, or do a few different things. This is where you can use the power of the gizmos and play with placement on this. Even though this is kind of masked, I can kind of come back in here, and because it's such a low level, I can then blend and adapt that. So, hey, Side Effects, how's it going? Hey, Pre-Jag. Hey, Jack. Yeah, have it your. I don't know. I get that a lot. A lot of people are really worried about what they're creating, and they'll listen to naysayers, and it's, I don't know. It just bugs me, to be quite honest, of caring about what somebody else's opinion. I mean, you can get feedback is great, but if it's just a negative or just kind of some BS, because there's a lot of people that can't do that will comment more than anything else. So I would say find some people you respect and then get feedback from those people. Alright, so I'm going to kind of I think I'm going to make this kind of like into a rat beast kind of thing. So right now I'm just playing with the shapes and forms. He's kind of become more of an animal, which is fine. And then maybe I might make this a little bit more of a mean animal. I'm going to probably play up some of this horn form. Now I've only brought in like one of this VDM brush, and I can kind of keep some of it. I'm going to I might be able to change it. I might have to go back here in a little bit, see what I want to, like if I want to continue with this or add another part of the VDM. But I'm also going to bring in, like I said, different creatures that I use. I think I will pull in probably a character I did a long time ago, Belial and Caterpillar. I broke those down a long time ago. I've never really used them for anything. I was just planning to pull from, so I think I'm going to pull from these. I'm going to make these a little bit more rodent and a little bit larger just for the moment. Okay. And let me go up a level. So as you can see, I'm starting to lose that character, that guy underneath. I still have some of it, but I'm not really concerned about his facial features anymore. I'm just kind of I'm using him as a quick base to start off of. So I think I might want to pull out something from the cheeks. Now, usually when you push and pull a lot of your designs, the poly count, or it's going to break down. So when we go to do alphas or anything else later on, it starts to really become difficult. So I'm going to, and right now I'm just going to pen in. Let's pen in. Okay, let's do a sphere again. I like spheres. Let me bring in what I was working on. So this I'm just going to kind of flatten. I might make it kind of like a weird section to him, like his cheekbones really kind of coming out. Now I'm not worried about the other side at the moment, but thanks, Jackson. Scared the shit out of me. Let's bring this down. But whenever you're working on one side and you're not able to see the balance, this is where it kind of becomes a little bit difficult. So what I would probably suggest is that you can use mirror on this. There's also the Z plugin. You go down to Subtool Master, click that open, and just mirror. And I'm just going to merge this into one group. So that way it throws it on both sides, and that way I can start kind of taking a look at how things are working or how I want it to interact with. So I'm going to probably bring this out a little bit. And you got to make sure that your symmetry is back on when you do this. Okay. And I'm just going to kind of get this going. Oops. My brush kind of pulled across. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not really. I'm just thinking rat. I'm thinking beast. I'm thinking that kind of stuff. I'm like, this might just be. I'm not quite sure what it's going to be yet, but I'm just pulling in a few different shapes and trying to see how I might want to bring in this. I'm gonna, now that that piece is in there, I probably want to sit there and bring. I hate it. Sometimes my brush is sticking. Probably going to bring a bigger back jaw to kind of like do the creature and maybe design something that plays into this kind of thing. So, and then I can kind of give something to kind of like hold up, or where this piece might kind of come from. So I might make these a little bit larger. Okay, and then now I have that some of these forms that are from the original scan, so I kind of like, I'm going to use those to kind of pull down my neck. Maybe bulge these out a little bit. So I'm starting to go into needing some of the body. So let's go ahead and get that going right here. Now, since I've lost some of that detail from my original VDM, I see some of those shapes. So this is where I can kind of like change and start interpreting this thing together. So it doesn't have to be exactly what I pulled in, but I might want to just sit there and keep some, reduce other areas that might be an issue, and start creating something entirely new. Now I'm on a pretty high level. I'm going to go back down because I really don't want to do too much detail on a higher level. And I'm going to flesh out some of the side. Okay. Now from the front, I'm going to change this dynamic to 35. I don't want it too extreme. Now looking from the front, I kind of probably want to bring in these jaws, and I want to kind of have that see more of the ears. I'm going to bring these down just a little bit because they're a little bit too much. And let's bring them in because I want some of the shape, not much. And I'm going to go back to grabbing these ears because I think I'm going to bring out this to be I'm going to go down a little bit of the levels too. I'm thinking, like when I said beast rat, I'm thinking more of a docile creature, more of like a kangaroo type thing, less predator. And when I'm thinking that, this, you know, the eyes might kind of go out a little bit more because usually predators have their eyes and everything focused, and their ears can kind of lay back, and they're very aerodynamic. And usually cows and that kind of stuff, their eyes and their ears are kind of off to the side of their head for more of awareness type of thing. So I'm just kind of thinking along that I want to kind of bring up this to be more of a creature that is going to be on the... it's sticking. So when I see from the front, I'm thinking about, well, I want to see more of those ears. Okay. And I'm going to bring those back in, and that way then I can kind of go, all right, let's thicken up the head. In the back here. And I'm just going to shoot this. Okay. So that way, that perspective, you can kind of see some more of the ears, kind of looking elfish. So I might kind of have to balance where, you know, widen these up a little bit. And I'm looking for kind of like that streamline, and let's bring down this neck a little bit. Okay. So I have a quick base of what this character is starting to be. I have an idea. I'm just testing out things. I'm throwing things on the tablet and just going, is it going to stick? Is it not? I'm not really worried about details yet. I'm not really worried about anything else, because when you're creating basic forms, the silhouette, all that kind of stuff are king. You're just trying to make it have some direction, some idea that you want to do, but you need to make sure that some of those creations are working. It's telling a story, because as you add the secondary layer and the tertiary details, if the base isn't solid, or if it's not a good design, or it's not quite working, none of the details that you add on top of it is going to really help. So it's sort of like putting sprinkles on shit. Okay, I don't care how much you like sprinkles, you're not going to eat the shit. So think of it like that. It's a simple form. Try to get something that looks good, you're pretty happy with, and then you take it to the secondary levels. And do not, even if you went into the tertiary levels, be scared to go back, and if something's not working, rework it, even if it wipes out the secondary and tertiary details. I have plenty of times tossed things away. So just relax. So, hey Dimitri, I'll show you here in a second. I'm actually going to be bringing some stuff, and I'll combine just to show you. Yeah, a pre-drag, I like that one a lot. I have a tendency to pull to it, and it's been there for the longest time. Appreciate it, Jacques. Talking about predators have their eyes based like that. Oh, she then picked her dog. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's usually it's just simple. It's not all. I mean, it's just not a like all predators' eyes are here or back, or it's just nature kind of sets up things a lot along that lines so they can act quickly and see, and then usually non-predator type have more stuff to be aware. So okay, so now that I have this kind of like how I want, I'm going to go ahead and just append in the sphere. Again, I like to use spheres a lot, guys, just to sit there and as a base to just pull. And for some reason, when I'm letting go, it's sticking. It's like Spider-Man. Okay, so now when I moved that, it kind of got lost with the symmetry. Okay, I'm going to make this a little bit larger because I'm going to start building the body really quickly, if I can. I want to feel like Spider-Man sticking to me right now. Let's go ahead and just start building up. I want to kind of probably bring, so I'm now building the back, the form, the chest, some of the shape that I want. Okay, I'm not really worried about the, and what I could do right now is to just go down. This is a, just a regular sphere. As you can see right there, it's not a true sphere. I'm just going to DynaMesh this really quickly. I'm not worried about how much the DynaMesh is. I'm at 8,000. This is going to go up to 1.2 million. Let's go ahead and undo that. Let's just make it 128. Just DynaMesh, because I could ZBrush this really quickly. And if I'm worried about it being symmetrical right now, this should clean it up. I'm just going to go down to like 0.3 and just ZBrush. I was already on symmetry, so it should be able to go symmetrical. And this is how you can kind of clean up things, or if you're worried about it. You can use this as a sculpt, go into Sculptress and do a couple different things. I'm just getting a quick base so it's a little bit cleaner, right? So now I have a couple different levels on it that I'm working. I can even go up a little bit higher. I'm not worried about the higher levels. I'm just kind of trying to get this thing to go. Go into move, and I'm building up back of the spine. Okay. Get some of the shape. Okay, here's the rib cage. And let's go ahead and just give it. Just a general shape. Good enough. I'm kind of filling out this character, like how do I want it to be. Sorry guys, I don't know why. If you see me kind of like flipping around like I don't know what the hell I'm doing, that is something's going on where it's my pen tablet is kind of giving me some issues and grabbing. So okay, I'm going to kind of build out where this neck is going to sit in. Okay. Alright. Thanks, Harris. I appreciate it. Namaste. Siddharth. Okay, so now that I have this done, okay, this is going to have levels on it. So when I kind of bring in my different objects, I'm going to make a duplicate really quickly of this. Just going a couple levels, and I'm just going to delete higher and delete lower, because I'm going to go in and use this as a base to pull some of my previous pieces from. So within my subtools, I have my Belial character. So what this is a character that I created a long time ago, and for some reason it's kind of you go here, it's pulling in. So I have hands, I have my arms that I created the character, and there's my body, horns, tongue, so on, teeth that I kind of utilized from. I broke up that character into different parts from, and this piece is I think 8 years old. So I'm gonna use it. So I'm gonna probably just use the hands from this really quickly. Now, when I created this brush a long time ago, I made the mistake of, as you see when I drag out, there's 4 hands. So if I have symmetry on, I'm dragging out 4. I don't need 4. I only need 1. The problem is, like, it's just going to be the hands are going to kind of be off. So I'm not worried about that at the moment. So I'm just going to drag out just some of the hands that I'm going to use, and that's all I'm going to use from this character. Because right now they're not symmetrical. I could go through the deformation and I can sit there and resim and sim and do all that kind of stuff, but I'm not worried about that. It's going to take too long. So I'm just going to hold down Control Shift, and I'm going to just and then Alt. Alt is going to switch it from the green to the red, and I'm going to, oops, as you see right here, the I'm pulling from the body. So let's go ahead and go to Split first, and I'm going to say Split Unmasked Parts. And what that is going to do is going to take the elements, solid pieces, and split it from each other. So now it's split away from the hands, and then I'm going to do that again, and then I'm going to just say, and this is when I created these, they're at this level. I have no divisions on them. It's just I gave a mid. I created it at mid level. I didn't give all the high details I put into the original bust. I just got a midpoint, not too low to start from. And I'm going to go down to Geometry, and you can go to, now I could split Hidden, which will just separate this into a different one, but I want to just go down to Geometry, Modify Tool, and just say Delete Hidden, because what I want to do is go back to my Subtool Master, Mirror, and I want to get a true objects merged. So whatever I'm doing on one hand, the other hand is doing. So I'm going to turn back on Symmetry. The gizmo is kind of off, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off Symmetry again. I'm going to reset this brush. Come on. Okay. And when I turn on, hold down Alt, turn on Symmetry again, then whatever I do to one hand, it's going to be set. So let's just say he's going to be using these hands maybe a little bit larger, just for quick placement. So he's almost kind of like a kangaroo. So I'm thinking kangaroo. So you know how they kind of hold their hands when they're bouncing. So he's got kind of like a lot of that form. So he is a beast, rat, kangaroo, whatever. Done. Now I have those hands that I can and I will work with here in a second. So right now I'm just concepting. I'm thinking up a lot of stuff. Hey Fluffy, how's it going? So let's go back and get some of the other parts. So I'm going to go back to my Belial. I'm going to take a look again. I'm hitting M just to see all my inserts, just to make sure if there's anything else. I don't think I'm going to pull anything from this character. I'm going to go to another brush that I created of another character that I did for beta a long time ago, the DynaMesh beta for ZBrush. And I'm going to take a look at my caterpillar. Now, I think I'm going to take these legs. So when I draw out these legs again, I'm going to click back onto the original body here. I did the same thing again. I didn't mean to do 4, so I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to try to, let's turn off perspective. And you could use, as you see right there, the vertice goes over top. I'm just going to pull from that one, and I'm not too concerned because again I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did before. I'm going to make these a little bit larger, a little bit longer. Okay. And I'm just going to get some placement from this. Alright. So again, these are 2 poly groups. One is masked, one is not. I'm going to go to Split, Unmasked Portions to split that away from my body. And you could do this as well. There's another trick. Instead of going to masking and you know, like the Control Shift kind of stuff to do it, you could also, if I wanted to use this, you could auto group. As long as they're 2 solid elements, you can actually auto group to them, and then I can just hold down Control Shift and I can just hide whatever one I want, and I can split hidden from that if I'm worried about it, or again go to delete hidden, and then I have this leg. Okay, so that way there's a couple different, always so many different ways to get it. Hopefully, Fluffy, this will be a monster. It's just right now, it's just I'm having fun. I'm kind of goofing around. So with this, I don't have any levels on this. I can try to go to geometry and reconstruct and pull back my levels that I had initially. So if I was clean in the first place when I made this brush and I had levels within that brush and was able to go down, it was going to transfer to that brush as well. So I'm going to then go to Subtool Master. Before I do that, I'm going to go back up into my levels, just make sure there's no issues. And I'm going to mirror, and it's going to create all those different levels for me. So now I'm going to hit center. Because I'm working on symmetry, I'm going to turn this, and I'm going to probably bring this here. Sorry, the trash compactor guys are out. So I'm going to make this a little bit larger. You got to be careful that you don't intermix the two pieces together because they will combine and cause issues. So, okay, I've got to sit there and see if these legs work. Okay. And I'm going to go back down my levels and I'm going to kind of start working these legs just how I think I want them to be. And just because I use these legs for that one character doesn't mean I can't go back in and say I'm going to go Control, Mask Lasso, and I'm hitting. So what I'm doing is I'm masking out different parts, and I'm using I like the old transpose on this one because then I can actually use rotate and I can play with this leg, pull it down. I can scale off that. When you rotate too, I can actually change based on the angle how much that's going to, so like here in rotate, I can actually morph, cause some weird issues. So let's go ahead and change some of that leg, and I'm going to continue this mask. Alright, and kind of probably turn this. Okay. And just, again, I was using this as a start, so I might kind of come in here and make these a little bit thicker. You could also, if the bottom legs are too long, I can actually just go ahead and scale these down just a little bit if I don't want them to be super floppy. And I'm going to take this toe, I think, and I'm going to kind of make it a little bit longer and out. Okay. So now that I have this kind of going, I'm going to go back to this piece again. Let me go ahead and save as just as I'm going. And of course, if there's any questions, please drop in and let me know. I'm trying to catch it. On this one, let me get the pieces in first before I go back to the body and start fleshing out, because right now he might be a little bit too thin. So I'm going to go back to my piece and let's finish out. I'm sure you still need to see it on the side effects. You need to keep sending that. So I'm going to go back to my caterpillar. I'm going to take a look at these tails. I'm going to bring in a tail. So let's say this character. Now, if I bring in one tail, you know, I don't know if he needs one tail. I think it might be kind of cool to turn on the symmetry because I did the mistake and this is only one. I'm going to bring in two tails, I think. So let me go back to my move and let me change this. Maybe we bring it into where, and again, I'm using the gizmos to kind of change some of that. I can change the direction, and I'm just being very careful that I didn't go over top of the character itself. I didn't sit there, I mean the piece, and I didn't intermix and pull back. So, and I'm going to probably maybe, see right there, if I go and I start pulling, oh, it didn't work, that's weird. Usually it does. Let's thin it down and elongate. And maybe something like so. Okay, maybe bring it a little bit higher. Okay, with that on, then I can kind of use my move tool to kind of change just a little bit if I need it. Okay. And now that I brought this dimension up into it, I'm going to definitely need to kind of go back into that body and tweak it out a little bit. So, because it's kind of getting too much of these pieces are starting to kind of intermix. All right, and then now this, I think I want the, and what I'm doing with the gizmo is I'm holding down Alt and I'm just kind of resetting the pivot. So I might kind of make this just a little bit thicker. Okay, so let's go back and start working on this body. Now, that's what I want. So right here, this piece is together. So these two pieces are all in one. I'm going to go ahead and just say group split because I want to just separate out that one. And I'm going to go back to deleting that really quickly. And let's go back to the original one I did to start playing with some of the form. Okay, so this way I can start to bring in some of the details. Maybe I definitely think I need to widen the body. And I want to add like a pocket to where that, so the legs. Let's thicken, let's turn them out a little bit more to give a little bit wider hip. And let's make them a little bit thicker. Okay, so he's a really powerful jumper. Okay, and when I do that, I need to then go and make, you know, so he sort of has like a hip or maybe some fat that kind of rolls over top. Okay, the girl. And so we're kind of just starting to flesh out some of this idea. Okay, so it's belly. And then those are going to sit in. With this, let's go ahead and give it some shoulder blades. Maybe it's going to flow down. So I'm using, you know, the natural understanding of anatomy, like here's the delts and that kind of stuff. The ribs are coming underneath there, just to kind of create this character. And let's go back to the head. Okay. All right, so we're starting to get there. Starting to kind of get to where I'm believing that this is a rat, kangaroo, whatever. Okay, and I'm just going to be playing with some of the forms. Alright. I'm probably going to bulk up some of like the legs, because again, if it's a kangaroo, it's going to have powerful legs, so on. Side effects, I'll check it later. Yeah, the creature did not miss leg day whatsoever. Okay, let's turn back on perspective. Okay, it's working. So now, let's go back again. We're going to go to this, and we're going to go back to my, I'm going to borrow, I think, a more from this creature. Let's go ahead and, let's give it, you know what? Oh, here. I'm going to borrow my toenails. So see right there, the mesh is composed of subdivision levels. So either I could come to here. Now, depending on your levels and your detail, you could freeze. Sometimes it kind of causes issues. To me, it's just, or it takes some time to compute back and forth. I will just go down to a lower level to give placement, especially if I'm going to be trying to bring in a new piece. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to go and say, let's bring in, so let's bring in some you know, because kangaroos can, what is it, ostriches can rip a man's head off. So, you know, don't mess with them. So I'm going to straighten this out a little bit, maybe make it a little bit longer, and twist. Okay, so there's one toenail. Okay, it's another one. So I'm using parts that I've already created a long time ago, even though one character, you know, I was designing for this one character, doesn't mean I can't rethink how I might use these pieces again. Even though I'm not really doing too much to the leg, like I'm pretty much borrowing the caterpillar leg and some of the toenails from it, by adding it to a totally different creature on top changes that way and that function of that character and the design. So let's go ahead, and now that I have those two tails, let's make these a little bit longer. Let's bring them back. And because on this tail I had a whole bunch of teeth and stuff like that, I'm going to, and it's kind of flipped, but I'm going to just treat this as like he's got stingers or whatever. Okay. Let's make them a little bit longer, a little bit larger. So it's kind of like a double scorpion tail. So anything sharp that you add to your design is going to, again, be a little bit more predatory. It's going to be very vicious kind of thing. So maybe this is going to be, he has some defense just like a skunk has, you know, anal glands to shoot nasty shit at you. Even though it's not a predator, it still can cause discomfort or whatever. So, and again, we're making up something. And we have an extra thing of arms. This might be like Guyver or something like that, and once I bring in arms. Okay, so once I have these, now if I do solo, I'm going to just show the differences. These are one poly group still. I'm just making sure that these are all the same poly groups, so I want to separate. I'm going to just do group. Oops, I need to unmask, split unmask parts. Oh, I need to mask. So let me turn up polyframe so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to kind of grab this and then just say split unmask. So that way it separates these into thorns. And this is my tail. How's it going? Hey George, how's it going? Quite a few badass artists that just showed up. Check out George's stuff. It's phenomenal. Okay, so now that I have the Guyver kind of stuff, I'm going to go back and I'm going to flesh out the rest of this design. I'm going to go back to my chest piece here. The one that is frozen at a level, so I can bring in. And I'm going to go to... Oops, something just fell off my wall. Let me take a look at... No, I think... Okay, let me take a look at the caterpillar's arms. Even though he didn't have hands, I'm going to bring this back. I'm going to try to, again, center. Alright. It kind of looks like he's got some weird ears. Just going to concentrate on the one side. These... quickly want to make sure that since I'm dealing with arms, I'm just going to auto group, and I'm just going to split, group split. Okay, and I'm going to take out the left arm, and you could just go, once you have this, you just delete, go back to this, subtool master, and then again mirror. I'm not worried about the poly count, it was just giving me a warning. Okay, and let's take a look at these. Make sure whenever, again, you create that, set it to be symmetry, because the default is not to do it. Okay, and it's 8,000, 800,000. I'm going to see if I can reconstruct. Yeah, good. Because again, I want to manipulate the shape and play with it a little bit, so it's just easier to do it in a lower form. So I'm going to make this a little bit thicker and larger. And actually, let me just mask out that area. Okay. So I'm kind of creating the delt of the creature. I'm going to flip my mirroring, and then I'm going to go back to my transpose tool, and I'm going to make this smaller. I'm going to scale this down. You could also move the pivot to be a little bit faster. And I'm going to rotate, bring this up. So I'm recreating this arm for my purposes of trying to design this character. So let's go ahead and you want to make sure that the gizmo is exactly on the areas that you want to scale, because otherwise it will kind of cause some weird issue. So, okay. Now I'm going to unmask and kind of clean up this a little bit. It's kind of a weird bend, so I'm going to straighten this out. And I'm just going to bury this into the hands. And let's in flat a little bit, make it a little bit stronger. Okay. Give him a little bit, give him a little bit bigger biceps. Okay. And we go up in the levels, we're gonna have to kind of probably clean up a little bit, change this. Let's bring his arms a little bit more. Alright. So now that I have that, I can go back to my thorns. I'm gonna flip, move. And let's just kind of remember that Guyver. That's an anime I'm talking about, in case anyone doesn't know. And I'm going to kind of use this as, maybe he has this as a defense mechanism. Let's go ahead and alright, something like so. Okay, so I think we have most of the design of the character. I mean, there's a few things, and before I finish out some of the different details to him, I want to still flesh out. Like, does he have hair? Does he have extra weight? Does he have bone protrusions? Anything else? Yeah, it's a monkey kangaroo mouse. Let me see. So this way, this just allows me to kind of get some of the ideas. So now that I have this, now I have my arms in there. Now I kind of want to, probably bring this forward. Here's some of my chest, my pectoral muscles are going to be coming in here. And yes, the arms are kind of getting in my way from what I'm designing or I'm thinking, but I also want to make sure that it, there we go. I want to see how they will lay, you know what I mean? I want to sit there and see how they're going to look. I'm going to bring down the triceps and I'm going to bulk those out a little bit more. And same thing from here. So now my delts are kind of intermixing. Stop. And let's go back to my shoulder blades, because now that I know where that delt is going to come in, I'm going to kind of give him a little bit of his shoulder blades to kind of set those into. Okay, and here's the rib. Okay, some of the fat. Let's make it a little bit thinner, just a little bit thicker, as we're just trying to work this out. Okay, so what I probably want to do is figure out how this tail will kind of connect to the back. But I think what I want to, I don't like the idea that he's kind of hairless, but so maybe like if you see a lot of like the mouse kangaroo, I can't remember what it's called, but it has a mane. So I'm going to probably delete this. Well, actually, that was on the right one. I'm going to delete out this level. I'm going to probably go to FiberMesh and kind of give them some hair. So what you want to do is make sure that the divisions are fairly close to each other. Okay, so wherever you're thinking that the hair is going to be onto. Now I could take these two parts right here, and I could actually just merge them together. So and create one piece and then DynaMesh it for the details. I'm still kind of playing around with the design, so I don't know if I want to sit there and merge them quite yet, because I might have to move them, or you know. But if I was happy with the design, then that's where I would actually do this. But I don't really need, I can fake it, I can hide. So let's say, go down a few levels. I have this little connection, like that's where it's going to be sitting into. I have the back spine that's kind of come up here. Okay, so let's say I want to have, actually, let me do this. Let me just make sure it's clean. Alright, so I'm going to click on this hide, bring in the tail. Let's just do this really quickly. So both are, this has no divisions on it right now. I could try reconstructing. Okay. And I'm going to, like, it's 4. Now the problem is, like, if I divide this up a couple more times to get to level 6, which this is right here. So here's my body type. Because I started a little bit lower, it's only at 500,000 and it's at level division 6. My tail is a level division 3. So if I merge down, guys, to put them together, they're still going to be separate elements, but I can't go, it's going to be brought down to level 3 because that's the divisions it only kind of does. So I'm going to probably just combine these two, DynaMesh them together, and then just kind of, you know, I could ZBrush and so on if I want to. So because otherwise, if I divide this tail up a couple more times, it's going to be 2 million, and then this is going to be 500,000. So I want to have something consistent. So this is why I'm thinking this way. I'm going to go ahead and just say merge visible. It's going to take those two tails and the body together, and then you can duplicate it. I'm going to probably, I can project and get some of the detail, and there's not much, but I'm going to duplicate. I'm going to come down to here and I'm just going to go lower res, and I'm just going to delete higher, just bringing it down to DynaMesh. And let's go ahead and just DynaMesh here really quickly. So it's done. And that way, even though it's two polygroups separated, I'm going to hold down Control W just to make them one solid polygroup. So now this way I can actually blend over top of both. Okay, but I want to take this one DynaMesh, and I'm just going to go ahead and just turn on symmetry, and I'm going to go down to ZBrush, and let's just do it at 0.3 again. Now, if I had the poly groups on, I could do keep groups and it would make it a little bit sharp. That's great for hard surface kind of stuff. We are organic right now, so I'm going to just make it one poly group, and because I want to flow the, you know, the forms over top of everything. While that's thinking, done. Okay, so here's my new ZBrush piece. Check it. Always check it. Just make sure it looks pretty good. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and just project the details a few times up. Again, if I go up one more time, and here's the thing: if this is like right now 1 million, this is 600, 700. This is, I'll probably do the projection one more time. I just, whenever I do streams, I don't like to project too much because sometimes it will bog down your computer, even though it's kind of Good. So now, if I take a look at this, I have the projection on this. It's not too bad. It's consistent. So I can just say body ZBrushed. I do this just so it's kind of easy to kind of come to here, insert, find it, and then that way I can turn off these two. And now, usually what I do is I'll hold down Shift and the arrow, and I'll just knock the pieces that are old. I still kind of keep them in the file in case I might need them, but I just want to make sure they go back. And just divide it one more time. So now this is a 2 million poly. It has most of my stuff, but this way, and I can't remember who was asking that before, this is how I can actually continue and bring these together. So that wasn't too bad, but let me go ahead and just save, just in case. And again, we're just having fun on concepting, just trying to think. So now that I have this piece, I'm going to go ahead and hold down and go back to my mask pen, and I'm just going to paint out some mask parts. So let's say I wanted to have like a mane running down, oops, here. So because these are all the same size, I mean it's all one mesh, one poly group, and division, it's going to be fairly consistent. If you are working something where you're doing different pieces and there are different divisions, the FiberMesh would actually create different amounts of hair and everything pertaining on the polygons that it's working from. So just be aware. Go lay down, girl. Okay, so now that I'm set, that's my idea for the main. I want to sit there and showcase some of the hair. I haven't played Dark Souls either. I don't play games that much, guys, unfortunately. So I'm going to go down, and I'm going to go to FiberMesh, which is right here underneath the layers. Now I could also save morph targets, everything else. In different episodes, I usually just go through different things to show how you can approach stuff. I'm thinking more concepts, so I'm not really concerned myself with cleaning up the mesh and doing all that. FiberMesh, though, is going to give me, based on the masking, when you hit preview, it's going to do a fast preview. And it's kind of hard to see right now, so I'm going to go into open up modifiers. I'm going to first change the base. And these are the color that you're giving they do a default base and tip color, which in my background is difficult to see. So right now it looks like I have lots of hair, which I do. That is going to be the max fibers. I'm going to reduce some of the max fibers because I don't want to have so much tossed at me. I'm going to change my length, and I'm going to give it a little bit higher mane. And let's go the coverage. That's the amount. Okay. So max fibers is going to be just like, is it 1 or 100 fibers per thing? Length profile goes from like, is it a short piece of hair or long? The coverage is just going to be how much in that little area is going to be covered. I want to go down. You can keep twist. Twist design, you'll notice later, it kind of just gives a little bit of variation to this. I'm going to change the gravity, and I'm going to throw the hair up a little bit. So I'm changing the gravity from normal gravity. Like 0 gravity is just going to be straight out from that normal. And if I go to a negative, it's going to kind of give it a little bit upwards. So I'm going to go to that gravity, and it's carrying out pretty well. And let's go down profile. Profile is right now, it's just a plane. It's a when you consider a billboard that's just looking right at the screen. So I'm going to change this to 4, and I'm going to make it into a box. So it's actually giving a profile. It's going to scream at me, do you want to do this? Yes, I'm fine. And then I'm going to do segments. Let's do 7. Now, what that is I went from a plane, which was just like a flat, plain poly piece of paper, and there was only 3 divisions in the beginning, 1, 2, 3 connections. So now I would just change it to where it's like more of a round, like a box, and then I actually made a lot more divisions, so you can actually bend it a lot easier. Okay, so that's all I did with that information. So now that I'm there, I can go, okay, that looks fairly good. It's kind of crazy. You can play with this length a little bit if you want to bring it down to a little bit more. That's fine. And I'm going to just say accept. Okay. It's going to ask fast preview. Rendering is currently off for fast preview action. Would you like to activate fast preview? No, I just want it to be whatever it's going to be. So now this is going to be a separate subtool up in here. And then I'm going to divide it again to give it a little bit more information. Now, this is where you can play with it. I'm going to delete the lower level because I'm going to come in here and I'm going to turn on my Sculptress, and I'm going to kind of cut some of this hair. I'm going to trim it down as it goes down. Okay. This is the Sculptress is I'm sorry. Yeah, Sculptress is a great way to kind of quickly it's reducing and taking it out and kind of cleaning up at the same time. So I'm just going to kind of, I want some wildness but not too much. Okay, and then you could actually, I use the move tool a lot, so I'm going to turn on my move and I'm going to just kind of push stuff around. There are groom brushes and everything else, but I like the move tool with this. You can also use the pinch tool if you want to pinch tool to kind of pull some stuff together. Not really worried about some of the stragglers you can kind of clean up. But the move tool is kind of like if it's twisting a little bit too much, you can kind of bring it back on the tail because it's sort of twisting off to the side. But hell, he doesn't have a comb. Okay, and I want to thicken up a little bit of this, so I'm going to just use the in-flat brush, and I'm going to just kind of give a little bit more definition. Okay, so I can actually see some of, and you can actually inflate, reduce, inflate, smooth, to kind of help show some of, where that's happening. Okay. All right. So there's just some tricks to kind of give it a little bit. Now on here, I should have probably separated the two, like the mid fur to the side tail first, because those are a little bit too much. It's hard to separate. I'm gonna kind of pull those down. And again, we're concepting here, so that's not going to work on that side. So this is where I might kind of go redo this one, try to play with it a little bit more and separate it, but I'm not going to hamper this too much because we're just going to probably just see some of the stuff from the side. Most of the times we just show. Okay. Thank you, pre-drag. Yeah, it's just something to kind of help, give some definition to it. And usually it should be set up to where when I move stuff around I don't lose, it's kind of masked at the bottom so we don't have any kind of issue losing the fur. But so if I was going to do this again, I can hide this one. I'm going to go back to the body, it's still there. So what I was suggesting is like on here, let's do this pretty quickly. Let's just take this out and let's not run this up quite so much to interfere with the back hair. Maybe it stops here. Okay, so let's just go, once those fibers are on there, I can just sit there and say accept. Okay, alright, so now that I have that object, okay, so this is my original hair that's by itself. Then I can actually go to this fiber, let's go back to Sculptress, turn on, let's just reduce some of this stuff, crazy stuff on the side. Yeah, okay. Yay. Okay, that happens, guys. Actually, I did not mean to do 2009 quite yet. Let's go ahead and close it out. Sorry about that. Sometimes I think with the sculptures and the FiberMesh, and sometimes things get kind of confused, so it kind of screws it up. So, but I'm 2 o'clock, so it's okay. And I don't have to pick up the little one today, unfortunately, so I can spend a little bit more time on this guy since it's broken down to take it. Okay, let's see. Let's see, recovering. Okay, so we got back the recovered tool. Let's make sure we're on here. Okay, fibers. I'm going to go ahead and divide this up a little bit more. So the recover tool saved me, so that's good. Alright. And you can also do to where I'm going to just go ahead and say like trim curve. So like let's say if I want to, let me go ahead and neat. So let's say if I want to have this guy just a little bit more trimmed, I could actually just use the trim curve and cut off, you know, some of those things, or and make it a little bit sharper, and then smooth out as it goes down. Again, use the move tool to kind of combine it. Okay. So now that I have that guy, I'm going to go back to here. Okay, I'm going to wipe out that mask, and I'm just going to go ahead and just do the mask down here. And I lost that FiberMesh information, so let's go back down, FiberMesh preview. Let's get this note. Okay, modifiers. Oh, maybe it didn't. It looks like it kept some of it. Let's go ahead and reduce some of the max fibers. Let's go ahead and reduce the coverage just a little bit more. And let's take out the twist on this one, because maybe that's why it's thrown off a little bit to the right. Okay, and let's just accept that. Okay. Alright, so now I have the separate main from that. I'm going to just divide. Again, turn on symmetry. Let's just pump up some of the details. And I'm just kind of trying to push that fur together. And I'm just taking off that top here. Okay, so there we go. Alright, so we have some of the hair, some of that character to it. And that way I can kind of push these out together. But now that, let's take a look at I'm just turning back on the levels that I want. So this was the previous one that had a lot. Let's just go ahead and delete that out of the course here. And then I should have the 2 levels. Okay, so now that I have that, let's go ahead and just probably give some more detail up here. I'm probably going to pull this main there. Let's give this guy just a little bit of cut. Now I'm at 2 million. Let's just give him some as we're playing with the FiberMesh. Now because this is a new one off of a different object, I'm going to have to do that again. Let's go to length object, coverage, X fibers. Weird. Okay. Let's LODs, let's see. Not too sure why I'm not getting twists. Let's do the gravity up. Okay, for some reason it's just really short. That's okay. Now, let's just accept it. Let's go back to here. Let's double it up. And let's give some of it. All right. As you saw on the separate pieces, actually, let me undo that. I have to do symmetry. Okay. Something like that. Okay, so now let's go back and start concentrating on the character. So we got the fur, we got the hair, we got a couple other stuff. You know what? Pre-drag that might have been it. That was definitely acting. No, it wasn't on. I'm not too sure why I was doing that. I was definitely acting weird. So what he was... Okay. That's weird. You see how it's kind of flipping and carrying? So I'm going to go ahead and just take... I'm not liking how that's acting. So I'm going to use the hair from below, and I'm just going to just stretch it out and carry it. I'm not a big... anytime you kind of see some weird issues, some stuff kind of happen, it's better just to delete it out, save, you know what I mean? But really good. Okay. I'm thicken up. I'm trying to make it look ratty, and alrighty. Okay, that's a bit better. Let's go back to the character tool. I'm going to save as, because remember I lost it crashed, so let's go ahead and make sure I got a new file. Yeah, I don't know, exactly what was happening, because it was definitely acting weird. And it's like I've used whatever, like the curves and stuff, but I don't know enough about them to kind of understand the breakdown of how they go about. It's all magic to me. I just mess with that. Okay, so I'm going to kind of bring in some of these eyes. Again, subtool master, mirror, done, symmetry. That way I can kind of use it. And let's start fleshing out the design of the character a little bit more. So I'm going to go back in the head. Now that I have those eyes and stuff, I'm going to just start sketching. Let's make a bridge. Okay. I'm going to go down just a level or so. I'm a little bit high. I don't want to sit there and be too... And let's give them just a little bit of connection, like maybe that's a little bit inflated. So now I'm trying to figure out where this little bone jetting thing is going to go. Okay. Make that earlobe a little bit larger. and probably okay. So I'm just kind of defining out some of the forms of how I want this to go. Now that I have that eye in there, let's just give it a placement. So we're setting the eye ball into the socket, and then let's just, I'm just adding a little bit of eyebrows, expressions to kind of give him, because he's got some of those sharp points, remember guys? So I'm trying to make him a little bit more evil. Okay, and now I'm going to make some teeth. So what I'm going to do is taking some of that and I'm masking. Okay. And probably gonna bring his chin. Let's go ahead and just bring his chin out a little bit more. And then these will be, I don't know, some of the skin. So we're going to use this to kind of push some of the eye down the line. Okay. Actually, I'm looking for the next project, so if anybody is working for a company looking for a character guy, I got some time. Can't just be goofing around all the time. Alright, so now that I have this kind of designed out, let's go ahead and make his, I'm going to clean up a little bit. There's too much from that one head before, or that one piece I had a lot of different things going on. I want to reduce and relax some of the areas to let your eye rest. If you give too much information, and it's very difficult to tell, because it's just so busy, you need to have areas of rest. Otherwise your design can become very difficult to follow. So I'm trying to do that right now. I'm trying to find areas to lead your eye down and around, but also not give so much information that it becomes confusing. Now that I know he's kind of a rat eye kind of stuff, God, I hate how that's sticking. I want to try to lead some of the eye in the direction towards the ear, the back, down the neck, and have the design move around. Like it has to kind of flow and work from a lot of the different angles. So now that I have like this, I mean, I got some puffy parts. I'm going to kind of probably bring some of those puffy areas into them here. So I'm going to, and I'm using N flat, and it's kind of giving me some weird design, so I'm just going to pick it up. Okay, anyways, that's kind of the neck. Okay. Again, he's a rat, you know. Doesn't necessarily have to be pretty. Probably the uglier the design, the better. Hey Miguel, are you working with DynaMesh? I did a DynaMesh on this on the body part, but I'm kind of using pieces that I created before and reworking the design. So this arm and such was part of another character I did like 8 years ago, and I'm just kind of pulling back some stuff from it and using it. Okay. So let's rework the bicep here. And now that I have that Guyver arm in there, let's go ahead and give it a reason. Let's build back up the forearm muscles. Go down a little bit just to build it up. Okay. He's just a funky looking rat. And this where, you know, like I might kind of DynaMesh this piece together to kind of give some skin details and flow, but right now not really worried about it. I lost some of my triceps, so let's bring that back. Use the end flat to kind of detail some of the muscles, but not too much. Again, we're just playing for form, silhouette. If I want to accent that bicep, like if it's hanging down a little bit, you can give it some weight. So let's mask out, push over, so some of that form is collapsing on itself on that arm. So that way we're giving some weight to this. Okay, let's go back in here. Now that we got some of that neck, let's go ahead and give some of the added extra detail where this is going to go. Yeah, a lot of people ask me how I do a lot of my forms or stuff. I look for weight. You got a lot of things that in nature is just kind of, it's affected by gravity. We're all affected by gravity, and a lot of characters or designs that I see, sometimes people forget that, and it just seems like it's almost floating. It's almost kind of like they're on the moon. And so whenever I try to create a creature, I try to think of, you know, what age is it? You know, how much detail it's been in, and or battles, or you know, what's the storyline of a lot of that stuff. And then I try to bring that through within the sculpt, within the line. Like when I was at Disney, it was all about line quality. Within ZBrush, you have to be very aware of sculpt quality. You know, how that one directional line is going to help lead the eye around and everything else. So adding weight to your objects, I think, really adds some of that believability and story along with it. So that's just how I personally go about it. Or in another way of saying, I just bullshit till I think it looks okay. However you want to say it. Alright, so now let's go back to those hands that I didn't really affect too much. So, now if you notice right there, it seems like one of these arms are off. Like I'm looking, so something got off, and I think it's the hands. So let me go ahead and just, oops, did not mean to do that. Let's go back to my select rectangle, and let me go ahead and just geometry, modify, delete, hidden. Let's go ahead and just subtool, mirror, merge. Okay, that looks better. So it was my hand that was causing the issue. So I'm going to reset the pivot, I'm going to reset the point, and I'm going to, let's make these a little bit longer, twist them in ever so slightly, and bend them back. Okay, so now I can then, again, this is a concept, so if I'm not too happy with how it's looking, you know, I can kind of keep playing with it. Once I'm set, or once I like the design or some things that are happening, then I will go and clean up and add to the form, you know, make it a little bit more final. Because this is what I sometimes do. I'll send to a client, or I'll go, hey, here's some ideas on the creature, and then allow them to give feedback. And then that way, this is just a quick sketch. This is I am just chucking this down to give an idea of, you know, because sometimes you get a design doc, meaning like, hey, this is the creature we're thinking about, and my stupid thing is stuck. And so you might have a designer, we have this idea for this creature, this is what we're thinking, this is what it does, and then you quickly go, okay, and then you kind of concept up something and give them. They go, no, redo it, or this is what we're thinking, or it starts a brainstorming session where you kind of go through a lot of different iterations on the character. So why take the time to clean up everything? You want to sit there and just jot down tons of different stuff. So, you know, like kind of like maybe he's got a lot of spots down here, he's a little bit bulky, age. Okay, so now that I got that, let's go ahead and finish up some of my ribcage sections. I'm bringing in a little bit of sharp tones to it. I'm using Dam Standard to kind of give some of the wrinkles. Again, it's a female. And then I'm smoothing this out. And in nature, they're not shy. Okay, let's bring this up. I'm gonna want to pop out those shoulders just a little bit, but I also want to blend in those delts just okay, because I want to really accentuate the hunch, like the head is kind of buried. Instead of moving everything around, I'm just going to kind of make it look like the skin and the flesh is coming up on that a little bit more. Okay, let's go back to the legs here. I'm going to change some of the direction of the leg. And flatten up the knee a little bit. And let's kind of give it a little bit more of an ankle Guyver thing. Hey Greg, how's it going, by chance? Yes, I just like honestly putting testicles everywhere. That's what I do. Greg is another fantastic artist. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Sorry, I just saw it. Hey DD, thank you. And Greg, I appreciate it, man. This is my kangaroo slash vagina rat beast monster. I don't know, with some testes here and there. I'm all over the place. Okay, so let's do some extra. And since I brought down some of like the skin detail, let's go ahead and push out some of that just to add. Alright, like, you know, not like necessarily like a vein running across, but you know, something that will kind of do it. And then just because these are two separate objects, I'm going to kind of try to blend them a little bit. Alright, so let's give a little bit of pectoral definition. You know, maybe it's got a couple of boobies. Can't believe you said boobies. Yes, I did. It's a female. Go ahead and just give it just a little bit. You know. But I see a lot of people like they don't give any background to the character. They don't say what they're making, and if you want people to believe your creatures, some of your designs and your thought process, base it on reality. Is really, you know, there's a lot of freaky things in nature, so just try to sit there and bring in some subtlety. Just because I'm creating a creature doesn't mean I can't base it on biceps and triceps of a human or an animal or something like that, you know what I mean? I could bring in certain elements and then just give a hint of that and then walk away from it. So that way you can have a little bit like, you know, here's the ribs, just bring in some subtle nods to that. Okay. And even though it might be covered, if we're moving this character, if we're going to be posing it later, that is going to help. I'm going to go down a few levels just to blend. Push, and then I'm going to okay. Let's take a look. Can bring this in. So there, I mean, there's just like that subtle chest. We're gonna, the pectorals come up here. Let's bring another one. Shacks or moose knuckles or Craig, however you want to say, just to sit there and blend it in. So now I'm just kind of bringing in some of that flesh, that form on top of it. Okay. I think I'm good. Let me go ahead and do some alphas on this one, and then we're going to, and I will be bringing this into ZBrush 2019. I was part of the beta, but I've been noticing a lot of other streamers and everybody kind of touching upon it. I wanted to still bring in some of the different brushes, and because I've been working with some clients, I kept in 2018 because, of course, if you know, you can open 2018 files in 2019, but you cannot do a reverse. So you got to be very careful when you're working that. You're aware of that. Okay. So I'm going to make the ears a little bit bigger and pronounced because, again, I want to kind of give it that. I'm not quite full predator, not quite full non-predator, or whatever I want to call it, but I just want to sit there and give that ear a little bit more for the form and the detail. And let's go ahead and bring in some alpha. So I usually use standard brush, and I'm just going to go to drag rectangle, and I'm just going to go ahead and import in some alphas. So let's go ahead. If that's Jeff from the accounting office, then I owe him some money. I was not aware that he looked like that. So I'm going to bring in just like a general elephant skin, just to give some little details. And you can, and this is what I would suggest, is that you build up in your layers. You can add layers. Before you start this, you could also do, you want to save the morph target, store the morph target if you want to play with anything. But since this, I'm just doing a quick demo. I'm at 2 million, that's fine. I'm just going to bring in a little bit of skin love. And as you can see, some areas are going to be better detailed and look better, and that's because I wasn't pushing and pulling a lot of the polygons around, but this is just a start. So again, it's for the concept, not 100% worried, and I might blend out. If it's looking too bad, then I'll kind of go, okay, that doesn't need as much detail into it, but I'm just going to add some. And this is where you can see, once I do this, if I turn on the polygons, you're going to see how and why those details are stretching, because that polygon got really changed. Now, if I want to make it clean, I just go through the process I've been showing you guys of just updating, cleaning up, ZBrushing, and all that kind of stuff. So, okay. But this is more to allow some of it to catch the light from when you render or anything like that. That's all this is for. Okay. And again, I didn't do too much in the back. Now, this stamp went across and back and did reverse. So anything that was going in concave, This is convex on this side because it's flipping past. So if you're worried about, or you're having problems with this, you just go to Brush, go to Auto Masking, and turn off back face mask. And that way it will only grab what you see in the front and doesn't take an account from the back. So just be aware. So like here, whatever I pull in here, you see that detail. So I'm going to go ahead and go Brush, and I'm going to go down here and say back face mask. And so when I do my sweeping details of my alphas on here, after it saves, my inside where it's smooth will stay smooth. Okay. Although sometimes that you want to just turn that off because it will cause problems on some things. Okay, so let's go to the arm. I'm going to go back up. I'm going to still use this alpha just to continue the detail. Make sure it's both on both sides. Done. I'm not really concerned. Maybe smooth out just a little bit underneath the arm. And just give some extra. Okay, let's go to the body. My 2 million. And again, if I was going to, and this is all I would do for a client, I would kind of show some of the, give some of the flesh detail, give some of the idea of what I'm thinking. Is this a, smooth, rough? Is it more rhino than an elephant, or is it more smooth like a pig skin? All that kind of stuff. So you're kind of just finalizing the story. Like this little area would be probably smoother. Might have some, but not much. Might be a little bit rougher on the back. We're just carrying down some of it. And then the tail might disappear. On the legs, definitely want to make sure that I'm up. I'm going to add another layer. Okay. And if you're getting, like, if you're saying it's too much, like I want to have some of it but not so much, you can change your intensity on the different parts. So I can knock that back. Okay. Hey Dante, how's it going, man? Oh yeah, hotkeys. If you guys want to use the different hotkeys, go ahead and just set that up. I keep everything to the only hotkeys I use are my brushes that I kind of flip through, and that's just to help you guys who watch the videos. It's very difficult to kind of sometimes follow somebody that has so many hotkeys and brushes in the. I mean, it's great for them and it makes it faster, but I guess I'm a little bit slower because I want to make sure that I'm not getting you guys lost. So now that I have that, I'm going to go ahead and bring in another alpha. I'm just going to go to, let's check out some skin alphas from humans. Okay, I'm going to bring in this alpha, like that's the dots. So let's go through and let's bring up some of the alphas. Just increase the intensity. I'm just going to kind of rough up, bring in some subtle details of bumps. The bumps will get bigger in the larger areas, like he hasn't shaved or he just shaved, however you want to do it. Definitely maybe on the neck. Carry down, and of course on the sacks. Okay. If I hold down Alt, I will get the negative. So sometimes I do both. I'll push and pull as I'm creating. Now the problem with this is that once I've done it on this, if I smooth out anything, I lose the detail from the elephant skin as well as anything I'm wiping away. So this is where the layers will come in handy. But again, I'm not too worried. Alright, and I might put some extra bumples on the arm. Maybe on the front of the chest here to kind of blend into this. Okay. And reduce just a little bit. Alright, so again, that's going to just give that extra little detail that really separates it from just being plain. So I definitely want to blend this in a little bit. Let's go ahead and just do one more alpha. Let's try this one. Now this is like a snake alpha. So I'm just going to kind of, on where it's in the back, just going to kind of like give it a little bit more rough. Let's clear that mask. And even though we might not see it because this is underneath the main, you know, if we start posing this character, if they liked it, who knows? You might twist that to where then it starts showcasing. And I definitely want to bring in some intermix of that detail from the different skins. Carry it up. Okay. And then since I did it to the back there, I might want to bring it to here. And then since I had that design in that element, I'm going to go ahead and just bring in some of that to the front. See if that works. Maybe a little bit more here. Some of it, not too much. Okay. Okay. All good. Let's go to PolyPainting. Let me save. Sure, Dante. The alpha maps are pretty much just black and white information height. So what this does is just I'm picking different alphas that will, as you see right there, the black, depending on the alt, if you use alt, the black will become, you know, concave or convex. It's just going to flip between the different degrees of black to white, the 256. If you had texture on it, if this was another texture of this piece, I can go into here and use that one corresponding texture, or I can try to come in here and import. Let's see. So if I brought that texture in, it would actually just do it at the same time. And for some reason, it did not. Oh, I have to turn it RGB. Okay, I'm not too sure why it's not bringing in. Anyway, you can actually do color at the same time. That's weird. Thought I would be able to do both. Okay. Should be able to do color. I don't know. I haven't done that in a long time, so I guess I might be wrong. So, but how I do the alphas is that I'll actually just bring this in. I'll pick a color. So first, I'm going to kind of say I want this guy to be pretty dark, kind of like he is a burnt rat. So let's go ahead and just quickly start from the darks to the lights. Normal maps, Dante, it's going to be based on the light information. Or as I say, it's magic. Don't mess with it. That way, it just takes something from like the high poly, and if I was creating this a low poly, it takes all the light information and we'll just transfer it onto the UVs and fake out the eye. Sometimes you need geometry to it, but and mostly it will do a great job of it. That's usually used more for games rather than the high polys that are just for, you know, the movies and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and just I'm going to go RGB 100% right now. Usually, you can knock this down, but I'm just going to go color, fill object, and what I'm doing is I'm just taking the hair and knocking it out. Okay, Yeah, it's magic. Seriously, don't mess with it. I mean, the thing is, guys, I'm not a big tech. I can do tech. I don't enjoy it. I am more of a traditional artist in the fact that I just sculpt and I bullshit until it looks okay. To be quite honest, there's nothing fancy. I just try to keep at it. And as an artist, I'm just looking for form and function and all that kind of stuff in my designs and everything. Being in the game industry, I mean, I had to learn it all and different engines and everything like that. But there's guys that that just dumbfound me in how good they are at grabbing the tech and understanding and breaking it down. To me, you can't pay me enough to do that, to learn it all. I'll forget the name of my family members and you know, even how to brush my teeth, because I think I'm at the level. I'm full up. So, okay, let's go to, I'm going to go to material along with RGB, because I'm going to bring in some of the eyes. Well, Dante, like the new stuff, the PBR rendering, everything, metalness, roughness, there's a lot of different things into it. Coming from, depending on the game industry, I mean the game type you're working on, you're going to range for a lot of different things. So if I do a mobile game, I'm going to be doing more old school, or it's just going to be diffuse, normal mapped, specular, that kind of stuff. If I go into the more high-end, new games, your PBR rendering, physically based rendering, metalness, roughness, specular, power maps, all this other kind of stuff. It's a lot. It's a lot to go into. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill this color. And what this is doing, the mRGB is material. So it's a material of the toy plastic along with the color. So I'm mixing the two. Usually I stick to the RGB, but because this is a separate element, I'm going to bring in a little bit of that shininess to it. I'm going to switch back over to, when I go to PolyPaint, I like to go to my ZBrush Illustrate Paint material, because it has a nice little blue hue to it and rim light, that kind of stuff, so it's kind of more believable. So I'm going to pick a color. I'm going to go probably the back fur. I'm going to think this guy is going to probably be a little bit more towards the browns. He's a rat, kangaroo, that kind of stuff. Yeah, pre-jag is definitely a lot more tech stuff than I am, so he keeps tossing me stuff and trying to make me think. It won't work, pre-jag. It won't work. But I mean, that's what it is. It's just every single engine has something different. Unreal's Epix is a fantastic engine and it's very powerful, and that's where you'll have your material maps and slate and all that kind of stuff. And pre-jag, you got to drop me a line and tell me where you're at. I know you're at a company and you're seasoned that. But yeah, you got Marmoset. You have a lot of different engines. You have Linux, not Linux. Crap. I mean, I was working on the id Tech when I was at id. It just depends. So this is the problem, and this is why I started doing these like ZBrush demos, is because there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of information that I would say is wrong as well. So I highly suggest you just find an artist you respect that seems to talk to you pretty well, and you can understand, and then go and do that. Yeah, or talk to different people in the stream here and see if they might know of anybody, although they might be wrong. See, this is the trick. Okay, so I've gone through and I'm adding up the different colors, and so what I'm doing is I'm just coming in here and just filling the object quickly with I'm going to delete out these previous pieces I don't need. And now that I started, I'm going to go ahead and just update. Save just now. I'm going to. So you can actually tell which, when you go through your subtools, you can actually see. So this right here, I don't have anything on, but I'm going to go ahead and just fill that color in. So looking over top of this, everything is going to be on color. You could just walk down. Oops, I missed my thorns. So what I'm doing is I'm just making sure every single subtool has some kind of base, and then I'm going to start slowly working this out. Okay, so here's my rat kind of guy. Now I'm going to do this really quickly because I'm going to bring this into the 2019. I'm going to play with some of the filters and talk about it. So I'm not really concerned anything than just kind of getting something quickly on here. And I'm not going to pose this guy like I normally do. I'm just going to probably just keep fleshing this out because I kind of like him. He's kind of funky, and he works for me. Oops. Okay, so there's something on the head here. Let's go ahead and solo. Let's unmask that color fill object. Okay. So I'm on the head. So I'm probably going to go towards, like, he is a... now his skin textures are pretty strong, so I could actually just reduce that just a little bit. I could also use the morph target brush that I saved, and I can kind of pull back from it. But let's go ahead and just take a look at... I'm going to pick this color, and I'm going to slowly bring this up just a little bit into the brown. So I want to have a base texture that I build from. This is more old school. This is how traditional visual effects painters work. This is how masters work. You know, Leonardo da Vinci, all that kind of stuff. You build up on the levels, and you just kind of slowly build up layer by layer by layer as you're pulling color through other colors. I hate painting, to be quite honest. I'm not very good at it, but this pushes me to get a little bit, so I'm pulling back to my old illustration, Disney roots kind of stuff. So yeah, the eyes are pretty freaking, and actually I like the fact that they're kind of screwed up, like they're not really there. So let's pick this color. Let's go ahead and let's give them, maybe I'm going to go to, so I'm using an alpha right now to where, you know, you can take a look. So if I use a solid alpha and I come up here, whenever I drag out, I have that round iris already there. This is what's great about the drag. And then, I mean, I could take that off and sculpt, you know, paint in as well. But I can go, let's say if I'm going to use this, I want to kind of give him like a dual, like he's like a hypno kangaroo, you know, guy. So right there, that quick little drag, it gives me some definition around the iris and the detail of the eyeball, and I'm done. I can sit there and go, okay, that's good enough. It gives some subtlety and idea to it. Or I can sit there and do it again, you know, and keep adding to it, to sit there and, you know, give that eye. With that material going across where it's specular and it separates out, it just gives just a little bit more. And if I not quite liking, instead of like swiping and trying to move that iris around, I could actually go back to my move and I could just change this, and, you know, so that's how I usually do. I sculpt and kind of go, I kind of like that, but I want to just play with it just a little bit, you know. Do I want it to where he is more cross-eyed, you know? Do I want to sit there and go, he's bigger eyes? You can sculpt into that again and just, you know, I do it. Much Tato, you might have to send me a picture of it and bring it in. So let's go ahead and go back here. That little subtlety. Again, the eyes are actually going to help detail. I usually do the face of the characters because I want to sit there and bring out and use that to pull into the rest of the character. So I'm going to go back to here. Let's bring it up. I've got symmetry on. I'm going to go back to my sculpt, and I'm going to bring in alpha 20 to sort of just slightly, and I got to be careful on my intensity. I don't want to quite go that much. Just want to bring in a little bit of detail. Now on here, you can bring in textures. Dante, you were asking, like, I could go in here and texture and go, I want to bring in this texture here, and I can say click and say add to spotlight. Now this brings in to where the spotlight is going to be where I can manipulate. I'm going to go to my, so you can actually see, well, actually let me go ahead and import in a different texture, one that might be a little bit easier to see. So let's say if I bring in this texture, I'm just going to say add to spotlight, okay, and it still has the other one down here. I'm going to change my opacity so I can actually see what I'm doing. So, and in the 2019 they actually added more to the spotlight with the alpha creations and everything else. So I pretty much just use scale, rotate, paint for this. So if I want to bring in this object and get some of that detail, I can see, you know, I can see some of the variations of the skin tone. I can say, okay, that's good. I'm going to hit paint. I'm going to turn that off. Now, whatever I drag, if I drag that out, I'm going to slowly pick it up. My symmetry has to be on, and you can actually see whatever I'm picking up on that side will start going to the other side. So this can add some quick, take the cow skin or whatever you want to do and say, okay, that's enough for me to detail out. And because I'm pulling out, I'm dragging, instead of painting, I'm using the RGB of 44 along with this alpha, mixing along with this texture, okay? So if I say, okay, that's pretty good. And what I'm using is some of this color, I'm blending. I can sit there and say I want to bring some of it down here, and that just gives me a start to, you know, then go ahead and grab some of this color if I want to do it this way. And a lot of times I've been able to do it, you know, picking out certain colors that you like, and you're just going to blend. So I might just use some of this. Let's knock back some here. Okay. And I'm slowly building up the areas of detail that I want, areas of interest. That's good. Okay. Okay. And usually, once I'm set with the head or the direction, then I'll start pulling that details and everything down. So, got you much. So, yeah. Pre-Jag, you better be sending me an email. I want to find out. For months you've been jumping in, and I know you're from somewhere. We haven't worked together, have we? Okay. All right. So now that I have that going, I'm going to bring in a little bit of red. Now I've gotten kind of, by bringing in that texture, I've got a lot of like the base made high level details, or like the colors that are I usually don't, it's rushing me. I feel like I'm kind of going, okay, it's detailing out. So I want to pull back. I'm going to bring it back down a little bit to the darks and just blend out just some of this, because I want to bring in a secondary color. I'm going to probably bring in some kind of like red to, you know, give some of that detail. I'm thinking like an albino rat. You know what I mean? It's this kind of like let's get his eyes. So again, I'm trying to detail out some of the different directions. And by doing the color, I'm going to kind of bring out some of where the eyes. So by having this red color, and that's going to help me define, you know, his nose area. All right, and then that is going to carry down here. So maybe this guy might be a male, because then we can sit there and, because usually males in nature are more, you know, they're showcasing a lot of the colors and stuff like that, and you know, trying to get the female interested and so on. You know, like a bar on Friday night. So. All right, so I'm bringing out some of that little extra red. Smooth up that eye just a little bit. So now that I have this color tone, I'm going to go up a little bit. Let's go bring in a little bit of splotchiness. I'm using that alpha to break up a little bit more. Okay. I'm going to use it to blend up in that color. And I'm slightly dabbing at that nose. I think I need to define out that nose a little bit more, because it's getting lost. So I might do that. Okay. Okay, it's 3 o'clock. Not doing too bad. All right. And I'm going to probably bring this to a bone. And what this will do, this will kind of guide your eye. I'm using this as just kind of like it's because that value is so light compared to everything else, it's drawing your attention to that point, which then will help lead you to the eye and some of the details out. Because I'm going to, whatever I do here, I'm going to take and I'm kind of switching to sculpt mode right now, just to kind of help. I'm gonna etch this out to make it a little bit more bone-like, a little sharp. Okay. And then go back to my color. I'm gonna blend in. Let's pick the dark. Because then, once I have these colors set, I'm going to go into here, and I'm just going to kind of, let's go ahead and just do freehand. Bring in some teeth. And then I can turn off straight off. Okay. I'm giving him some okay. All right. Okay. So let's go ahead and just give them a little bit of blue hue. So I'm bringing like a third tonal color, maybe to the gray, and bring this reduction down because I just want to, like I said, kind of like albino, so I want to just kind of bring in a little bit of cool to that area, especially since the eyes I really like are blue, so I'm going to bring a little bit like that tone around the eyeballs to make it feel like it's almost glowing. Okay, cool. Alright, so now that I have that, I'm going to switch over to a different part of the body. I'm going to start bringing this out. Now I can go and grab this texture, but I think I should just be able to kind of bring that up just a little bit to blend in, because I'm going to be bringing this into NPR filters, so I'm not really concerned about how much detail you're going to see. The NPR filters are going to really kind of showcase that off. Okay. And I've got to rush. I've got to start going here pretty soon. Or I mean, finishing off. Let's so I'm flipping the parts right now, guys. I'm trying to find the areas that I want. Okay. Oh, and I should definitely. Now the same thing with the back face mask is still off, so I'm actually able to sit there and color up this ear a little bit more without affecting the back, which helps. This is our humans from the future. Scared. Could be though. Alright, so let's pick up some of this color, and I'm going to go to a little bit more of a rough alpha. Okay, just detail at the top of the hands. So I'm giving some of the details. Let's carry up some of the lightness here. And since I got this pink underneath, will be a little bit more of the pink. And let's go back to here and color up this. Now, if you want it to be a little bit more quicker, you know, I could just take off that little and just drag, just color really quick. Because again, I don't know how much this is, depending on the filter we're going to use, we don't know how much that's going to be showcased, how much we're going to see the subtle details. So I'm just right now grabbing colors that I want to separate. So underneath here, definitely in the underneath the belly, and this is all going to tie it in to that color. So his front's going to be more towards the light, and then the back is going to start going towards the dark. Okay, and then the leg, you know, we'll have some of that. We can again blend it by putting in some of the Don't crash on me. Bring in some of that to the inside of the legs. Okay. Go down the brown. So you're kind of designing the character as, like, you know, how the flesh would be, the area details would be leading your direction. So he's going to be soft underbelly, would be more towards the flesh tone. The dark is going to be kind of more towards the thicker skin, or the, you know. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, like, let's say if we're going to bring in a design, you know, like I want to do some kind of striping or whatever, I would pick the color, and, like, let's say if I want to bring in a little bit more of that yellow you're talking about, you can actually just kind of, you don't want to do too extreme, but you just want to have some of that. So let's say if I want to do some of that yellowing that you were talking about, who said much. That's how I would actually do it. And then I would, of course, carry some of this down the arm, maybe crisscross. This is, you got to be careful. It doesn't quite look like a dinosaur, because we are, you know, again, thinking albino rats, and they kind of, you know, will have less type of striping or whatever. But let me go ahead. Just got to blend that in a little bit. Okay. Let's go to the thorns. Okay. Lighten those up a little bit, but then I'm going to go back down and then kind of where they connect. Okay. Works pretty well. And of course, where they fully connect, you can kind of bring in a little bit of that blood or that just a subtle hint of it. You guys are going off on a lot of different directions. Okay, so I'm going to take some of these colors. I'm just going to go into the higher pitch just to kind of bring some details out. Okay. So as I go up, so I'm almost going to kind of like draw in some vein lines, whatever. Let's go a little bit higher up. Okay. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to pick areas of, you know, I think would actually help to just bring a little bit more detail to catch the eye. The higher the value, the more the eye is going to catch, especially if it's, you know, off of a dark background. So right now I'm just kind of like saying he might have some scratches, or you know, if I wanted to do like a wound cut, I would actually just bring like the skin a higher pitch, and then I'll just do some darkness down in. So let me go ahead and, so right now I want to bring up like he's got kind of like those tiny little blisters or whatever. I'm going to kind of bring up some highlights. Even though it's not in the sculpt, I'm kind of giving a few of those bumps some details that kind of go towards it. Very new question, if I may. How do you add a new part of the model to work on, and more than how do I go back to say the first part? Sorry for the, all these are different subtools that I just added, Zomboids. So all you have to do is just hold down Alt and click on the area that you want, and you'll jump. So if you see right here, if I want to touch these little bone pieces, I'll hold down Alt and click on it, and it will throw me to that subtool. So that way you're able to jump around and kind of work on a lot of different stuff. Pieces. Okay, so I'm going to kind of highlight up a few details around his eyes. Around his mouth. How to add? You just go append and then bring in whatever tool you want. I don't want that. That's a quick way, and or you could use brushes to add stuff, and there's quite a few different ways, depending on what you're in need of. Okay, so I'm just probably want to detail out that rim or that ear a little bit more. You're welcome. So I'm just detailing out some of that ear. And maybe the rim of this little section. Okay, and I think I'm pretty close to popping into 2019. Maybe I'll just do a little bit more, not veinage necessarily, but kind of like a design. And I'm going to highlight up his eyes. Okay, because I want him kind of looking kind of creepy, right? Okay. Yeah, Michael Pavlich has a lot of the walkthroughs. The 101. It's pretty helpful. But if you go through some of my older episodes, I kind of walk through like the step by step on a lot of the different things, just to, as you're just kind of creating. I try to keep it to where you're not using too many brushes or too many tricks, because there's so much to ZBrush, it's not even funny. So you can get lost very quickly. Okay. So that's good. I probably want to highlight just a little bit more. In here. Let's darken these down. Toenails are kind of sticking too much visible. The value is too high, and so it's popping my eye down there, and I don't want to see these as much. Maybe just the subtle tips of, you know, maybe darken down the feet a little bit too to help. Okay. And let's go ahead and, right now this value is so much on these bones that they're popping, so let's go ahead and just get a little bit more of a shadow to make it feel like it's kind of within the skin. Okay. And then when I do that, I need to kind of come back to, this is part of what I was talking about, those scars, or if you had anything that's kind of buried, I need to pick back up some of the highlights around that area to kind of blend in. Okay. Make it a little bit more believable. I am aiming to use ZBrush for making 3D models, 3D printing, which normal maps are in need of geometry. ZBrush can do that, yes. Yep. Yep. If you go to my Instagram, you know, instagram.com/briley_art, I do a lot of the 3D printing. I have a form too myself, and I'll probably be doing a episode on it pretty soon, just to show how I've been getting with a few things. So yeah, they're also for the 3D printing, so you can check them out. Pre-drag just likes to pull people away from watching me. Doesn't show me any love. What's up with that? Just joking, man. Yeah, there's a lot of us that will actually take the time to kind of help out in every single area. We'll have different knowledge, which is great. Sorry, it's instagram.com/briley_art. You can find, in the front of the episodes, I kind of show somewhere where you can find me. So you could just, on any of the episodes so far, I pretty much just do that while people are loading in. I go through the typical sales pitch. Love me, pre-jag. Love me. That kind of thing. Alright. So I think, and again, this is blending in just like I did with this little area that was kind of like the eye. I mean, you know, the shield near the eye. I needed to push it back a little bit. Right now, this value that I just did is pushing past that front chest, which is that droopiness is sitting on top of that chest. So either I need to push back that chest or highlight some of the detail on this some more. So I'm going to go ahead and probably just go back to this darker color, and I'm going to just, let's intensify this a little bit. I'm going to probably push back because I think I need to knock back that armpit area as well. I like that color, so I probably just need to highlight this up just as well. So as you can see right now, that is separating the blob on top of his chest to do that. And I think I might bring in some of this detail into the chest. So let's bring up the highlights. Okay. I think that's fairly good. Now I didn't do too much to the back here. I don't necessarily need to, but if you want to finish out some detail on the creature, get pinged. So I'm using that alpha to make it a little bit more of that alien. I'm going to go through and probably especially on the legs and the back legs here. Okay, let me see the bottom screen. There it is. Oh yeah. Thanks, guys. You can also find my links in the bottom. I forgot. Onyx. No, this is just me BSing. I'm just goofing around. I'm trying to create a kangaroo, rat, albino, whatever the hell. I'm just making it up. I don't know what it is. And thanks, Zomboids. I have no nightmares, just to let you guys know. So maybe that's why I create all this stuff, because I don't need to anymore. So if I want to bring out some of this spotted, stuff that I used, I'm taking the color from here, and usually you'd see some of the details. So if I want to bring in a little bit more of giraffe feel to it, I would make those spots bigger, right? So now he feels giraffe, kangaroo, vagina, rat, beast, whatever. So textures and color and everything will change the direction of a character extremely fast. So be aware of what you're thinking. But we have happy accidents. You know what I mean? Do I like this giraffe kind of looking thing? I don't know. Because if I go smaller, that's more predator to me. If I go larger, that just feels more, it feels more giraffe, and giraffes aren't. I've never seen a giraffe like bite someone's head off yet. So, but if I do this giraffe thing, I got to carry that design up to the back. You know what I mean? And then that kind of brings that a little bit more. Kangaroo humps. Yeah, it's all over. I don't know what the hell this is. But anyway, then I could go a little bit smaller once I had the design started. So yeah, let's just make this kind of like a kangaroo chap. And so if I do that, I'm going to bring in a little bit more of this. Now, if I don't want this to go all over here, what I suggest you can do is you just mask out the area you want. That way you can get a little bit larger, take it out, and then you can kind of blend that back. Okay? See if that worked or not. Or you can try it again and go, oops. So I'm going to probably make him into a kangaroo rat thingy right here. Bring in some of the color to blend. Alright, so I just changed him. I'm all over the place, which is fine. That's part of me trying to figure out my direction of my character. So if I do that, I want to kind of bring this into the back of the head to kind of carry up that full design. Maybe even a little bit into, this little section here. So it's subtle. Okay. Alright, so my kangaroo bat thingy. Let me reduce this level down a little bit. Because again, the spots are going to vary all over the character. You're not going to have it be consistent. Thank you. So this can bring in some of my skin designs and so on. Alright, so my kangaroo bat, and I probably would bring this just a little bit on the edges and maybe the top of the ear where, oops. Yeah, that's good enough. Okay, so let me go ahead and tool save as. I save this sucker, and then I'm going to bring this into yeah, actually, in case you guys haven't noticed, this is some of the different creatures from my ZBrush live that I've been doing, and so these are all being printed on the Form 2, and so I've been learning pretty much how to go from games, movies, printing, all that kind of stuff. It's a lot. I mean, every single thing has different ways to engineer, think about stuff, and so I've been printing a lot of these things to get it done. I just printed up this that I was showing earlier. It's like my little babu creature that I'll probably be posting pretty soon, and I was going 75mm to have people maybe paint them a little bit more, because the larger they go, they seem they don't really like to paint, which just kind of stinks. So okay, that is saved. I think I'm good. So now let's go into ZBrush 2019. So let's go ahead and close this down. Let me open up 2019, and I'm going to bring in this into 2019, and I'm going to play with some of the filters and test into it, because a lot of people have already gone through and they've already taught, you know, a lot of the what came about in the 2019. So you can find those. But what I want to show, and this is what I found. I've been through 4 betas now with ZBrush. Love those guys. This is definitely a phenomenal tool, and it's changed my direction of what I was doing. But you know, it's like every single beta has something different, and they usually hit 2 or 3 things in each of them. This one to me was let me load up the comic book beta. To me, the concept beta, because what it did, they took it to a new level, showing a lot of hold on, I'm trying to think of too. Crap, where was that one? They took it to a different level, to where allowing 3D people to actually create 2D on the fly and do a lot of different things. So it got us a little bit closer. Like, the reason I'm not doing concept anymore is because there was too many guys that just kind of destroyed me. So now at least it brings me a little bit closer. So I'm having trouble finding my ZBro. Let's just go ahead and just pick just a regular skin of that character, because what I'm not really concerned about is that kind of works. So within the ZBrush 2019, they worked on folders, which is great. You can actually bring a lot of the different folders together to combine your stuff. They have cameras for a lot of people that want true perspectives. They have alphas that you can actually create models for, but they did another thing called NPR filters. And actually, let me go ahead and I should have actually just within the noise, within your comma, we'll bring up the little quick lightbox folders. And let's go to NPR, and I'm just going to open up the cartoon render, and it's going to tell me to you know, do you want to start over? Yes, I do, because it's going to start fresh. I'm going to turn off my dynamic on my floor, and I'm just going to load back in that tool again of the character we've been working on. And as you can see right there, it's taking a lot of what I did and giving like a quick little within this material, and it kind of looks like a cool little concept right off the bat. Everything I've done, my PolyPainting, everything is pretty good. If I do the BPR rendering, it's going to kind of take whatever this skin shader and finish it out, and kind of there's some funkiness and stuff, and all of a sudden it's like boom, you know, I'm drawing something. So I can actually showcase this, or take a snapshot of this, bring this to Photoshop, and play with the levels and everything. It just allows you as an artist to kind of take something in my design, and I'm instantly given a lot of effects and stuff that I haven't been practicing in Photoshop, or a lot of the tricks I know in ZBrush. ZBrush is allowing me to sit there and bring it to paper. And so that's why you see a lot of people doing like a lot of tricks where you got, it looks like pencil drawings, it's 3D. But if I was doing this for a concept to someone, and if I was a concept artist 2D, I would have to draw this. Well, the cool thing is like they're like, oh, I want to see what does it look like more from the side or the back. Well, of course, as a concept artist, you have to redraw that. You have to give them, I could just turn it around and go, there you go. This is where, you know, I always thought, you know, from a 2D to 3D, if you ask somebody to draw me 20 hammers, they would spend a lot of times, whereas I would just build a 3D hammer and then just rotate and do 20 different renders. That's the difference from this one. So in here, now that I have this concept, I'm not particularly liking that filter. I'm going to draw dynamic perspective. This is where you have the different cameras that you have, and however you want to see it. If you go and you hold down, well, actually, like go to commas again. Yeah, Ian, it is starting to look like a little bit borderline. So, and that's the engine and filters and stuff. So when I do this, let's say if I'm going to let's just make this a little bit smaller. So if we have the character here, I'm going to render out, this is rendering out the filter information with that. If you bring open the comma light box, go into filters, then if I double click on this, it's going to give me that filter. If I click on this, that filter. So it's going to pick up different things that's intermixing, so you can find or you can create different filters that you like that kind of go, you know, oh, okay, I really like that, it's getting close. You can tell by these filters. If you say, I like that filter, even though the, or I want to go back to this, that's a little bit more pencil drawing, you know, if I want to do charcoal, that kind of stuff. Now, it's got a lot of different things on it right now that might work, might not. You can adjust these. So let's say, I'm trying to find the filter. Let's say I like this filter. Okay, now I'm going to go to BPR rendering. I'm going to render it out. So then if you open up your render, so you can actually go through the different filters and you can click them on and off to actually see which filters are kind of showcasing what's showing up or not. So that way you can start to slowly make your own filters. You can start changing, like right there, it's like, oh, I want that filter on. There are also the shadow, my strength. Actually, let's see, that probably is going to pull into a filter. Okay. And you also have it to where some of these filters will have different functions on them, modifiers, everything else. So let's go back and keep playing with that filter, because there's quite a few of them. And a lot of times I do where you kind of just make it small. You're kind of, I want to see some of those details out, but it's like you really can't see what's going on. Dress did this one, was like kind of a water. Let's go ahead and render it. You need the BPR rendering first. You're not going to see the updates until you click it. So that is the watercolor Joseph did. So this is the power where I kind of like, you know, you can play with it and do a lot of different things. Now this might work for your concept, or you know, to do the concept. It might, you know, not work. You can actually go into different ones and play with those filters and reduce and take out and so on. And like as he did, I don't want to have all that funky, and I mean, this is really kind of like, some of these filters will give you some great abstract feel to them. Like I like that, but the shadow's pretty rough. This one I think is kind of, I dig it. I you know, the flat tune, it's bringing out some of my details. I'm starting to have shadows in here where I don't on this one. I mean, it's there. It feels watercolory. So this kind of like going, I can make a, you know, a beast, kangaroo, giraffe, rat children's book now. You know what I mean? If I want to scare some kids, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So that's the great thing about this one. You know, you just kind of pick and choose, and all that detail is kind of taken into it, and then you can make your own filters by just picking up certain things and, you know, tweaking it. Or I can take a snapshot of this, bring it into Photoshop, and just react. Now if I took this one and I turned off my all my PolyPainting, if you notice right here, it's kind of, one is highlighted more than other. That's preferences. Let's go ahead and just turn off the mask subtool dimming. I'm just going to make it to where it's just by itself, so it's consistent across. And usually what I'll do is I'll grab those, I'll grab it like an eyes, because this is not with any BPR filtering right now. It looks kind of cool. When you do the filter, you're going to pick up different look to it. So that's what it's pretty much like. It's almost like a anime feel style manga. If I click on this one and I do with that color, so you can keep adding, and you can, when you open up that particular filter, you can just copy and paste and keep going and going. So yeah, Zomboids, you did a good timing. Yeah, Pixelogic, the team there, has been great giving free updates for pretty much when you purchased it. So whereas like Max and everything else, and those guys charge you like $1,000 plus every year. So as you can see right there, like that giraffe function, and you can see how it's kind of picking up, and it's got some different filters to it. This is where it really kind of like I said, all that subtle detail. Now I could go back into my sculpt and I can keep tweaking this and doing this, but it all depends on what you want to do. Now I'm waiting for the thing where if I render out like this guy like so, and it's on the white background, you can choose different backgrounds. I can do snapshot and I can move, but what happens is you see right there I lose that BPR filtering off of that. So if I wanted to do a series, so usually what I do is I'll just take a snapshot of this and then start print screen and then do Photoshop, and then, or you can actually do document export, and then it's going to give me you can do it into JPEG or Photoshop. So let's just do Photoshop, and then it's on my other screen, guys. So one second. So I could just do shot. It's going to ask you OK, and then if I open up Photoshop, and then that way it's going to kind of allow you to bring in that object or bring in that thing, and you can do a lot of different tricks to it. So alright, so there's my Photoshop. So now I have, and I could do a higher document setting, but the great thing about this is like I make a duplicate, and then that way I can just do all the power of Photoshop. And you can do this within the filters, and you can kind of intermix some of your filters if you want to play with it. But so that way you can kind of create something unique, which I think it really adds to making it look the color. This little these whites, that's just me pulling the hair down. So what I would go, oh, okay, I need to kind of go into this. I gotta go ahead and take that out, and I'll just fix. So you can still work in the ZBrush, while you're in this filter, to capture that certain, or just do the in-flat. Some of those different tricks I was showing you. So is there any kind of questions, guys? I mean, I don't want to keep boring you with the different filters, or if there's anything I might be able to continue on with. Because like I said, I have a little bit more time today that I can hang. And that looks like the... Or did everybody leave me? Anybody out there? So yeah, this actually turned out a lot better than I actually sort of like this character, I think. So once you save this out of the filters, or well, here, let's play. Let me go ahead and I'll show you a little bit of the folders and stuff. So on here, if I want to take like the head, I could actually take this, go into new folder, and I'm going to call this head. So everything that's pertaining to the head is going to be dragged into that. So if I want to rename this and call it skull, like this might be the skull, all you have to do is just kind of drag and drop that, and so that's within. Now this is going to you can select this and then bring it up one. So if you are going to have items that need to be over top of each other for whatever reason, be aware of that. So if I say that's my head, then I can just go ahead and close it. If I'm going to go ahead and say arms, I'm going to create another one called let's go ahead and just create another folder called body. That way you can kind of, and you can use just the normal up down. Let me see. Okay, body. Why is it not doing that? That's weird, it's not showing. I broke it already. That's weird. Let's bring the eyes up into here, into the head. Alright, I think I did break it. Go in. Alright. Because I should be able to, and as you see right there, it updates and it says 3, so I have 3 subtools and everything else. Thank you, Zomboids, I appreciate it. And thank you, Prejag. But I mean, this is kind of like, you know, the only one thing is like I wish they were able to do sub tools right now. I mean, this might be something down the future. And you got the visible count of the sub tool. Maybe that might be it. Looks like they added that one, because I should be able to say new folder. It's right here. New folder. Body. Okay, there we go. Weird. Okay. And then this way you can actually break it down into different sections. So you can sit there and slowly, you know, say, well, this is part of the body, and then, you know, legs. This will really help to break up larger files, larger things that will kind of, like if I want to do hair, I can separate and just say new folder, and that's hair. So then I have a hair folder that I know I can bring these fibers into. So you can close them down. I have two into the body, where I might want to open this up and just drag. And that way it kind of cleans up a lot. Now arms would go into body. Okay, so there's 4, 2, and then thorns. Let's just go ahead and throw this into the body as well. Oops. Looks like I kicked out. Let's bring that. So there you go. So this just allows you to do get the characters quite organized. So let me go ahead and show you another thing. And I'm going to call this 20. I've been doing the files 2019 if I'm touching 2019, because like I said, you can't kind of go into different things. So once you have this, you can actually go ahead and take this, and you can make copies. You can just right click on this or just click on it and you got transpose, so you can actually move everything together. If you want to move this all as one, if I want to duplicate all this character all in one, you have to throw them into the same folder. So if I want to just say rat, beast, whatever, I can just throw every subtool into one folder and just quickly make a duplicate. And that's what I kind of used. I don't know if you saw where I had my let me see. So for the ZBrush beta, I had a few images. So this is what I used for these guys right here. So these were my sperm dolphin characters, whatever, that I created. And so it just allowed me to do take everything that I had in this guy and then just threw it into all one folder, just made a copied everything, and then I just posed them a little bit different. So this is this is one of the printing projects that I'm working on right now. It's one of the heads that I did. I cleaned it up and changed it and just created the body, and then I'm just going to kind of do where I'll be finishing these guys off and then printing them as like little busts stuff. So so I might take one of these. This is the printing, that kind of stuff is a little bit less fun for me. It's not too much. So yeah, okay. So Zomboids, you're asking me like if this is the character I want all in one. All you have to do is just say you say merge visible and grab everything together as in one object itself. So I got 10 million right here. So if everything that is shown visible by these little eyeballs, these will allow you to kind of say together. So if I just want to take everything I see on screen, just say merge visible, it's going to calculate all those subtools, and then right now here's my merged character. So this is all in one subtool. They're all separate objects. You see the poly groups and stuff, and they're all the different subtools that I can break down, or I can recalculate or do different things with them. So it's just a few different things that you can try. Again, the document, this you can go play with the different degrees. You can save your different cameras. They added that as well. You can snapshot back to it. So like store the camera. So if I liked a certain view, you know, go to draw, and then you just could say store camera, and then just say, you know, camera 1 or whatever, and then you can just go draw, store camera 2. Okay, so that way you can actually then create little things for it to try different, perspectives and all kind of stuff. So, and save those out. Yeah, merge visible. Merge down one by one. Zomboids, if you want to sit there and do it, merge visible is just like whatever you see on screen, you just snapshot and you can get to it. So I might kind of play with these filters a little bit more, because it is kind of interesting. Now, again, you just BPR it first, and then you got to find it. So let's do that. There's a, what is it? Let's do the dot render one. Okay, so I've got this filter. This is the what I would consider like something like the comic book filter. So if I did this, there's the different dots. You can actually just go to render, and let's go ahead and just play with the. So as you can see right here, it has blend mode, darken. So every single filter you'll be able to add different things. So the front color is white, the black color. So if I want to make this a little bit more towards like my red, as you can see, the red in the background starts coming in. That's the back color, whatever is bleeding through. Do you have to balance the center of the mass of the sculpture before printing them? Yes, Gonzalo. I do. Yeah, on that one piece, I was actually just trying to make sure that the cut and my little Spark logo was kind of like a little stand, and I was trying to make sure whatever the pose was, I wasn't going too far back or too far forward with the head to kind of flip it over top. So I was trying to keep center of mass, which usually I just draw a straight line, or I have a box running up straight, and I try to say that's my center of mass, and I just kind of take a look at it. It's kind of hard when you're thinking design, and you're trying to think pose, and then all that kind of stuff. So on this filter, again, you go into your filter sections and you can actually turn those on or off. So if I want to not have it such highlight, because right now this filter is bringing in different things, I can knock that back a little bit, so you can change a lot of them. So here, right there, this filter right here is the filter of the dots. So once I can go down to that, I can take a look at changing this. So it should give me screen dots right here. So if you open up this, you can add different types of filters. So this is Orton. I can do like a blue hue. So you can add a lot of different things that you're already kind of setting up. And you can say, let's see, let's do horizontal. Let's do the opacity down. Okay, towards almost nil. So you can start bringing into that. You can do the color burn. You can see you'd have some of it. You could just keep going to make it look like even the spacing on this sucker to make it look, more of like a paper. So, and you make it blue. You could do a lot of different stuff with it, and just keep playing with it. That's the beauty of these filters, because once you kind of create your own, then you have your characters, you just do your filter, and you have your stuff you know. So alright, so let me go back. Let's get that. There's my black and white. There you go. I just did a. That's how you draw 2D, guys. I'm all done. That's how you do it. So and again, you can kind of go back and take these. Now, that if I do that filter without, because that color, as you saw right there, before that a poly paint that I did intermixed, so I wasn't able to see as much of these lines. If I like this filter, and I want to sit there and I want the black and white, I want the color from it, this is where I could go into that filter and figure out what's that one little, like the hazy lines. So there's some of the darkening off that. You can knock it back. You can add some more filters. It's kind of like a translucent. So there you go. You got it. Done. I like it. So, alright. Or you just go back to where it's just outside and you're just doing your regular nightcap green. Or different shaders entirely. But if you ever want to get back to that filter, just go ahead and go into your project, NPR, pick whichever one you want. It's going to ask you to reset, and you just open that character again. Load that tool. Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like I'm a big fan of the look of this stuff. It's just like it was pretty cool to see some of, you know, how the character can totally change right off the bat. Of, you know, even now. I mean, it's like I actually like this character a lot better than I did in 2018, just by the materials, because I guess I was working in that and I'm kind of used to it. I like how some of like the detail is coming out that I wasn't even aware of or were thinking about. So you get some really good happy accents and stuff, you know. But I like the fact that it's like you just do which filter? Let's go to filters. Which filter was that again? This one? No. You know, yeah, you had the filter intermixing with your color, making it black and white, and just giving you another quick character. Because this is, you know, a second, and it takes a long time for me to draw that. I don't think I could come close to it. So let's see what colored pencil looks like. I'm trying to find that one. This is the thing you kind of. Here we go. I think it was this one. Yeah, I dig this one. So I think that's it. Any other kind of questions? Because I think otherwise I'm good for this episode. And you guys know my emails, all that kind of stuff. Please drop me a line anytime. Any kind of questions. Yeah, this is pretty much the make art button. I mean, it's close. Like I said, it just allows me or you to quickly throw a filter on, because you could throw it into KeyShot and do a couple of tricks in the Photoshop, but this is all in one and quickly turn. You get the BPR filterings, you turn that on, and you can make your own filters, and then it's a comic book, because this feels just like this can go to illustration book or concepting, and it's just what I've done in the past couple hours to kind of flesh this guy out. And then, like I said, you just take a document and you export out. And then, you know, if I wanted to sit there and do a few of these, let's see, because then I can slowly keep bringing these into and you can just slowly make a sheet of these in rotation, and then, you know, because otherwise I would have to, you know, you'd have to draw it a lot. So yeah, I'll take that out. So if I'm like, hey, this is my character, my concept, it's all pretty much done. This just looks a little bit more impressive to kind of showcase off. So, but yeah, I think that's it, guys. I appreciate you checking it out, looking, and I'll put this up here pretty soon. It should be at least today or tomorrow, if you want to watch it again, for some of you guys that missed the earlier ones. And then, yeah, let me know. Now, well, I don't think concept art is necessarily dead. I honestly think and this is what I try a lot of my concept friends to teach them ZBrush, to help out wherever, because it's just all this tech is kind of intermixing. Like, you know, I mean, it's like I don't think traditional sculptors are dead compared to another 3D printing, because it's a different type of. As long as you're a good artist, it's just a tool, and that's the biggest thing. You are the artist itself. If you allow technology or whatever to be the tool, even though it kind of sucks that I could do this pretty quickly, it's still the concepting, all my traditional, all my knowledge, all my BS that I've been kind of like working in my years of trying to do comes into play. So that's what it's going to separate, because there's always been these, like, you know, when ZBrush and Mudbox first came out, or even, hell, I'm kind of old, guys, when computers started coming into play, where some guy could just do something on a computer that would take a long time and become a lot closer, it still was the skill that separated that dedication, that time. So it's because I'll tell you what, a concept guy that kind of learns these tricks will kick the shit out of me in a second. That's what it does. Once you kind of learn that tool, all that skill and ability comes into play. So I just think it's just another way to think about it, and that's part of where I try to concept. That's why I try to tell people, just kind of relax, just do what you need to do. Here's some different techniques to kind of get your creation down. Don't be so worried about the tech, because the tech can be taught to anybody. The skill, the eye, the detail takes years. So hopefully any of you guys are concept guys. Like I said, there's guys, I have good friends that I would go, I just got to show a few of these techniques. They watch a couple of my episodes and then take me to town again. And let's go. And I go, that's why I never got into concepting. And I came from Disney. So, but I appreciate it, guys. I had fun this stream, and I will definitely, check you guys out next episode. I'll probably take, if you guys don't mind dropping me a line, just kind of tell me what you might want to hear. You might want to, I'm kind of running out of ideas. You know what I mean? So let me know. I want to kind of try to help those that are kind of taken. And I probably will start doing my own streams on Twitch as well, because when I'm just kind of up and bored, so people can kind of check me out on Twitch. I'll probably, hell, I don't even remember what my Twitch is, but I'll probably start doing that, and I'll post. That way we can, I can keep going. So, alrighty, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate everybody dropping by, and you guys have a great weekend, okay? Take care, guys.